Hello and welcome to Lynchburg Live. I'm your host, Linda Smith. Anyone who's interested in Virginia style, home decor, gardening, outdoor living, and the best menu for any season only has to pick up a copy of Central Virginia Home Magazine. My guests tonight are Julie Pierce, who's the publisher of Central Virginia Home, and Laurel Feinman, our editor. Welcome to Lynchburg Live.
Happy to be here.
It's so good to have you. You know, as we get started, I wanted to say that Central Virginia Home Magazine is a beautifully done magazine, and you know, I think it's so cool that it's done right here in Lynchburg. So how long has it been in publication? Either one of you can answer these questions.
It's been 7.5 years. We put out our first issue March of 2007. So we just put out our eighth volume, second issue.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, now, where did the idea, do you know where the idea came from to start a magazine? How do you get an idea to do something like that?
Well, actually, I have been in advertising and publishing for over 25 years. And when I decided that I wanted to bring something new to Lynchburg, I did some research, and the concept of Home Magazine was formed. And everyone really does love to read about our subject matter, and our articles are timeless, so it has a long shelf life. And because of that, and because it's full of useful ideas for the home and garden, it provides our advertisers with a valuable advertising option for this area.
Plus, this area is so beautiful. I mean, it certainly is a palette for something like this, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, now is the magazine actually printed in Lynchburg?
It is at Progress Printing.
Oh, cool.
It is, yeah.
It's a good
So
plug
that's
for
nice.
them, too.
Exactly, exactly.
All right, now tell us about West Willow Publishing Group, because that is the group that does this.
It is. West Willow Publishing Group is the umbrella under which Home Magazine operates. And we also do some other specialty publications and some alumni publications, but our primary focus is Home Magazine.
I didn't know you did other stuff.
We do.
That's cool.
Yeah. Before I moved to Lynchburg, I was doing chamber publications in Michigan, actually.
So are you from Lynchburg originally?
I'm not.
Neither one of you are from
No.
Lynchburg originally? Neither am I, so, but it's always
feels like
interesting.
home now, though.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it is.
Definitely.
All right, what's actually involved in being a publisher of magazine, Julie? I have no idea. I wouldn't know where to start. I do newsletters and that's it.
Gosh, the publisher's job is, in general terms, to oversee it all come together. But the publisher's more involved in the business aspect
Right.
of the company, certainly involved in the editorial content, but that's more the editor's role to manage the content of the magazine. The publisher, of course, is involved in that, but is more focused on advertising, sales, the revenue, and the day-to-day business operations.
And so
So
Laurel,
that's why I have Laura.
as the editor, what do you do? And how long have you been in this position?
I've been in this position, I guess about 1.5 years. And I wrote for the magazine first before I became the editor. But I always say that I get to have the fun job with the magazine because I get to help oversee the content. We all work as a team and collaborate on the content and what our articles and our story lists will be, but I get to kind of take it and make it all come together, and then Trish, our artistic director, puts it together and makes it beautiful.
Well, you do a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Now, I've just recently found out that there's also a Roanoke issue, and you've just recently started a Charlottesville issue. Tell me about that.
We have. We went to Roanoke in actually at the end of 2008, if you can believe that, with the economy the way it was. And we've been there ever since. And we put out our first publication in Charlottesville in March of this year. So we just today had our third issue of Charlottesville Home delivered to the office.
That's wonderful.
and it's going really well up there.
So do you have to have a whole staff in Roanoke and in Charlottesville, or is this the hub for everything?
This is the hub for everything. I do have 2 salespeople in Charlottesville that are local, but Laurel and I have been up there a lot.
Yep.
And that's real important to get to know the community and the people in the community.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Yes, and make the connections with, to come up with projects to feature and ideas and things that are local to Charlottesville. So because we do try to, some of the articles overlap, but we do try to localize as many articles as we can and make them specific to that
Right.
market. There's always a showcase home in each market that's specific to that market, and a handful of articles that are local to the market.
Now, do either of you had just said you had a background, I was interested in whether you had a background in architecture and design and journalism. Either one of you have that, or is this just a talent that you just had to bring this together? I just think it's cool that you pull everything together, especially in 3 areas.
I actually have a marketing background, and I worked for my college newspaper selling advertising. That's how far back I go. That's a long time ago. And Laurel.
Yeah, I had a background in journalism in college, and I majored in English and in journalism, and I don't have any formal design training, but I do always like to credit my mom for any kind of sensibility that I have about decor and things like that, because lots of kids got to go to Six Flags and fun places like that, and I got to go to antique stores and furniture shops with my mom and dad. That's what they were into, so that's what I was into by proxy. So I've grown up always observing projects and purchases and things like that for the home.
And it paid off for you.
Yeah, I love it.
Plus, I do think that you have to be born with with that kind of talent, to manipulate things to get good form and make it work.
I think there's a big piece of it that is a natural talent.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Design and building and all of that.
Now, what is your goal for Home Magazine? Everybody's got a goal. What's your goal?
Wow.
What is your focus?
Well, the focus of Home Magazine, the purpose of Home Magazine is to provide our readers, to inspire our readers with useful and practical ideas for their home and garden, and to provide the local resources to help them implement those ideas. And by local resources, I mean our advertisers,
Right.
The landscapers, the designers, the builders, the realtors. And we also like to feature homes and gardens that show how local people in Lynchburg or Charlottesville or Roanoke live in their homes, how to design, improve, landscape, and live in your home.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so exciting, is that you can open this magazine and you get, oh, there's a good idea. I could do that at my home, and that's cool.
And as far as that's always my hope for our readers, is that they'll see something for themselves or about themselves in the pages of our magazine, so that they can feel that it relates to them and their interests and their budgets and their capabilities, so that they feel like they're a part of it too.
Now, how many issues do you do a year?
We've been, in Lynchburg and Roanoke, we've been publishing 4 issues a year. We are going to transition to 5 issues in 2015.
Oh, that's great.
And there's a couple reasons for that, actually. When we first started this, I thought Lynchburg could only support a quarterly publication. And it is somewhat seasonal, and it will continue to be seasonal just because of our subject matter. But right now, we've been coming out a couple weeks early with our December publication because of the holiday season.
Right.
And that's because our advertisers request that it come out earlier. And so we go from November 15th until March 1st without a publication in the market. And we literally have people call the office and say, when do you have a new issue? Yeah, if I missed your new issue, I haven't seen one. Truly, we do. So that's one reason. And then the other reason is we've always kind of skirted around the whole holiday issue. We do holiday-related articles in that fourth quarter issue, but it can't scream Christmas because we need it to maintain its shelf life through February, and that's hard to do. So it's very, our covers might be festive and holiday-ish, but we've never had a Christmas tree on our cover just because it needs to hang around.
You know, just listening to you, there's so many things, so many avenues to go down, so many things to think of, you know, that here I am doing this television show. It would never occur to me that you have to think like that when you're putting a holiday issue out, you know, that has to come out at a certain time. But I admire you for what you do. Of course, you've been doing it a while, but tell me, do you know approximately what kind of circulation you have? How many people you reach?
We print 20,000 copies every issue, and we direct mail 10,000 copies to a very targeted demographic, of course, all homeowners.
Right.
And that, I think, is one of the reasons we've seen so much success is because of our direct mail program. We have the racks, so anybody can pick it up, but we also have our mail program.
Okay. So you do have distribution areas that people can go in and just buy a magazine off the rack?
It's actually a free publication.
Oh, it is?
It is.
I didn't know that.
It is a free publication. And we do have racks at restaurants, retailers around, in and around the Central Virginia.
How can you manage to do something this glitzy, really, and make it a free publication?
Well, we need to stay very mindful of our content and making sure that we're providing value to our readers and ideas and ways to inspire them so that they keep it because it's supported through the advertising revenue. And my number one goal is to make sure that my advertisers find value in advertising with us. And I should have done a crunch the numbers before we came, but we have a very high renewal rate because our advertisers do see a high return on their investment, and that's so very important. So,
I'm sure it is.
Right. So if we're focused on that, our readers, we're going to deliver to the readers with content that interests them as well. So.
You all have brought some pictures, so we're going to put those up on the screen and get you to tell our audience what they are.
Okay.
Phil?
This is our July cover of Charlottesville Home. We are every other month in Charlottesville, so it just came out today. It's dropping in the mail tomorrow.
This was a fun story. I wrote this one. The focus of the story was three very different small spaces and what to do with them, because small spaces in particular sometimes present more challenges in decorating or organizing and making it work than a larger space would. So we had three different small spaces, and this one was one. It was this charming little guest cottage that's new, built to look old to favor the existing home on the property, and they had just had solar panels installed.
I was going to ask you if that was solar.
And it just looked so, the red, white, and blue, I don't know, it just looked so patriotic and welcoming and like a place I think any of us would love to go and spend a few days. So that was really a really fun article. And just to learn, I learned so much with every story, just to learn about solar panels and what's involved with having those installed and what the benefits of it are. So that was a fun one. I love every story though, so I'm probably the wrong person to ask.
that cover was actually somewhat challenging because you do have to have the perfect photo for the cover. And just the orientation, and we decided we had to use that photo on a July issue.
Yeah, that's a good photo.
The white home with the red cover. We had to use
really
it.
Good.
So it turned out fabulous. I love it now. Love that cover.
I love this article. In fact, this is an article that inspired me to do a project at my home. I had this just kind of corner of the yard that I couldn't do anything with because it was in the shade under trees. And after reading the article that our fabulous writer researched and figured everything out for me, I was able to go to the garden supply store and buy things. And I even kind of copied the layout of my little corner of the world from this photo, which I love.
It's amazing what you learn when you research anything. You know.
That every issue we have a culinary corner article, which is a cooking article, which always includes some recipes. And this article looks as if it were maybe about shrimp, but it was actually about lemons. And there's a lemon shrimp recipe in there, along with some other lemon
And this is
recipes.
the cover for the
That
summer issue.
That photo actually ended up being our cover for the June issue.
And Lucy Cook, who lots and lots of local folks remember from Magnolia Foods, usually writes our culinary corner articles for us. She has the perfect name for the job.
And she does.
She's been writing it since we started. She's from the very beginning. Yeah, she's great.
That's pretty. That's really pretty.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this was a big favorite. And another time that it was great to have my job, because I got to go to Smith Mountain Lake and spend the day with this nice, lovely family at their lake house. And it was just a really special home. And it looks like it's been over at the lake, you know, since the lake was built, but it's actually new construction. And they intentionally built their house to look old, and they built it so that it would look like through the years it had had several additions and add-ons and renovations. So they were very thoughtful in those details to pull that off. In that, you know, they changed the wood that they used. They even changed the direction that the floor might be laid. They even changed the style of the doorknobs or hinges. All these different little bitty details that give it the idea of maybe, you know, this wing of the house was built 20 years later. And it was so intentional and so clever and
very
so well done.
Innovative, really. I was going to ask you if you take a full staff and go on location to do these shoots, to shoot these
I guess
particular
that way,
homes.
That day we kind of did.
We all showed
I
up.
know, we all did. We didn't want to miss this one. We had our photographer, Allegra Holmes, who's fabulous, and we had our writer, Patricia Held, and then I went, and then Julie.
I decided I needed
Julie
to show
needed to
up.
stop by, and we had, they were the gracious,
They
I was
were.
gonna
most gracious
ask you
homeowners.
if either one of you actually did interviews, but it sounds like the whole staff went, because this was an exciting place
It was
to
an
go.
exciting day.
It
We were
was.
really
It was a lot
happy
of
to be
fun.
there, and they were just so nice to us.
They were.
I think we maybe overstayed our welcome.
That was, yes, I had to say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting a
have
little
to
too
go.
comfortable. Because it was a Friday afternoon in the summer.
And one of those rare August days where it's not too hot. It was perfect.
Yeah, that's a great article. And that.
Oh, that's the privacy screens, building your
is,
own
it
privacy
is.
screen
Okay.
between you and your neighbor, you know, through your landscaping and things that are not bamboo. You know, that's everybody always thinks of bamboo first, but that can kind of take over too. So that was a good little practical article.
Do you have a full staff of writers and photographers? How many do you have on staff?
Well, you know, really everybody's a freelance writer, so we don't have a staff. But we do have some regulars, you know, that have like Lucy that have been with us and that we love to use frequently. But yeah. This was another fun one. The theme of this article was about botanical themed prints and you know, flowers or big, you know, leaves and how to work with those pretty bold and splashy prints in your home, you know, without letting them take over or look like the lobby of a resort hotel. And a designer at James T. Davis's new design center actually replicated for us. The picture on the left is a photograph provided by a fabric manufacturer, and Sarah was able to kind of replicate that with a hand-done rendering to show what it might look like in your home. And I thought that was really neat. That's a skill that she has. Mm-hmm. She's a fairly recent graduate out of a design school, and that was part of her training. And she could do that for any customer that wanted to be able to visualize something in their home before they make a big purchase.
Pretty quickly, too.
Mm-hmm.
I was
It
surprised.
was. She
wow,
did do it very quickly.
Impressive. Mm-hmm.
So you do have regular contributors. Do you encourage unsolicited contributions?
You know, it's interesting that you asked that. I just received a phone call today about someone that called to suggest that we do an article on Bent Mountain in Roanoke. Mm-hmm. And I don't know much about it. And she asked, should I write something myself and submit it, or how does that work? And I said, well, really, if you'd like, but she told me she wasn't a writer, so she just submitted her ideas and why she thought it was a good. We're always looking for story ideas. Mm-hmm. We're always open to story ideas. You just never know. And sometimes someone may present an idea, we may not implement it for 2 years. But it just, because everything has to fit with the story lists, and we plan so far in advance that oftentimes things are planned, and so it has to go into the next year's story list. So we're always open to that.
How far in advance do you have to start working on an issue? Because that must take you a while.
It does. You know, at a minimum, 3 months. But we actually plan a lot of things a year in advance. Our showcase homes, we try to shoot a year in advance because they're seasonal. So we don't want to be shooting the spring showcase home in January. So right now we're doing the summer 2015 photo shoots for not only our showcase homes, but anything else that we're going to feature that is seasonal, so that we can get
green grass.
Green grass.
Yep, and the right flowers in bloom.
How do you decide what home to feature or what garden to feature, or is it just, do you go out and research these things, or do people come and tell you, you know, the Smiths down the road have an unusual garden?
A little bit of both. Sometimes we'll have friends say, you know, you should talk to my friend so-and-so, they've got a great house, you know, and we get a lot of tips that way. I think Julie's been known to go knock on a door and introduce herself and ask. They just kind of come from all different places. We've had a few homeowners, you know, that might be regular readers approach us and say, hey, guess what, I've just done this project. I think you might be interested. So a little bit of all of the above, but lots and lots of friend-to-friend type of recommendations.
We're constantly making connections. We're going to be doing some things at Smith Mountain Lake, and I just sent out a few emails, and then that leads to another referral, and it almost snowballs sometimes if you just kind of put the word out. If you're doing an article on a certain topic and you're looking for this, and
do you ever run out of ideas?
No.
I haven't yet.
We always have to table. We always have to table things. We'll say, okay, we'll do that next issue, you know, and we kind of keep a running list, but then new things come up too.
And do you invite guest contributors? Because I noticed that you had Daryl Arant.
Yes,
who did a nice article.
Oh,
did
and
he
I was
really?
so excited.
I was too. I was a little starstruck, I have to admit, to edit Daryl's piece.
He has such talent. He really does.
He really does.
Do you ever feature people, or is it just homes, and maybe a person might get thrown in to the mix?
It's almost the other way around. The person would get discussed as a part of the story of their home or their project from home, rather than a personality profile.
Right. I didn't know if you did stuff like that or not. So people tend to use this magazine as a resource. And they also, I've noticed different places I've been, it's like a coffee table magazine. And that must be a terrific compliment to you guys for being able to put together something like this that's so well received.
It is, and one of our biggest compliments is when we hear a serviceman, or one time it was the Schwann's man, who said, "Gosh, I see this on every coffee table of the homes I go into."
And that's
So
really,
it is.
it's such a compliment. Now, this may seem like a strange question, but are there legalities in putting together a magazine like this?
Ask Laurel, her husband's the attorney. You know, the only,
There have to be some.
we are always mindful of making sure we check our facts, because there could be,
Right.
there is liability with that. So we're always making sure that we check our facts, and if it's warranted, we'll let the homeowner or whoever's providing the information, let them review the facts just to make sure that we're covered. And occasionally there's like, well, you know, I did say that, but actually it was 20 years
Right.
instead of 15 years. Those types of things are the only things that ever come up. But no, I mean, other than that, liability, at least we haven't experienced any at this
Right,
point.
because you know, our goal is to present everyone in the best possible
Right.
light. So we want their cooperation, buy-in on the content. We want them to be proud and pleased. So we are always very careful not to present anything that could be offensive to someone or excluding to someone else. So we do try very hard to monitor our content in that way.
And I've learned through Laurel and editors and writers that sometimes it's just a simple word or two that you have to question and say, well, that could be perceived the wrong way or taken the wrong way. So we have to be real careful with the editing.
Now, if someone wants to know more about your magazine, or wants to be a contributor, or wants to contact you, do you have a Facebook page or a website?
We do have a Facebook page and a website, and like us at homemagazine.com or Home Magazine on Facebook.
Yep.
I'm not a big Facebook girl myself. Laurel does all the Facebook stuff. And
Like us.
our website is cvhomemagazine.com, or you can go to westwillowpublishing.com and find all of our magazines.
I thank you both for being on here. This time has gone by so fast, and I still
has.
have more questions I'd like to ask. But I thank you so much for being here, and continued good luck with this magazine. I think it's charming.
Thank you.
And so good that something like this is done right here in Lynchburg. It speaks volumes, I think, for the area, that it encourages this kind of thing.
Thank
Exactly.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed it.
I hope you've enjoyed tonight's show. My next show will feature a comprehensive look at skin cancer. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.